All right, welcome back. And for those who are new, welcome to this information series. Hi, Ted.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So welcome to this info session on value stream mapping. I'm excited for those of you who have been part of our journey as we've been exploring 4 different proven productivity tools that can help you identify and minimize waste in your production processes so that you're more competitive. Our speaker is, of course, Ted Kennedy, project manager at Polaris MEP and a Six Sigma black belt. And value stream mapping is actually a lean Six Sigma tool, right, Ted?
Yep.
And one of the most popular things that we do for clients at Polaris MEP to help them get started in moving from what they're currently doing to what they ideally want to be doing. So we're going to be setting the stage for the webinar on the next kind of screen. And first, I'm just going to let you know who Polaris MEP is. Advisors like Ted Kennedy help clients with training and projects that, as we said, generate measurable outcomes. And so those are outcomes and input that is about the top line, the bottom line, and the pipeline. And Ted and others will always match our clients and their needs to the best solution. So it's not very cookie cutter. But the end result is something where it really helps you reach your goals. So in today's info session on value stream mapping, we're going to be talking about why to make a value stream map, what it is, and I will put in the chat links to a couple of case studies on our website that reveal some of the positive outcomes. This is a little snapshot of one we did for Art Cultured Foods, where they realized a 10% reduction in packing time just from making the value stream map and making a couple of small changes, not even from doing the full overhaul. So I'm really excited about exploring that today. The other thing that we're going to be talking about is how value stream mapping differs from process flow diagram. That was a previous info session that we had. And so it's going to be interesting to see Ted describe it. One thing that is the same throughout all of this, if you will advance, Ted, is that we are always focused on the wastes, and we're not going to waste any of your time today talking about the 8 wastes of lean, because Ted has covered those in the last 2 sessions. But I suppose if we were running through the 8 wastes, I think that, that would be probably overproduction, because we've talked about 8 wastes too many times and you'd be waiting. So we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to turn it right back to Ted to tell us about value stream mapping and why it can be a really successful tool for your business. Ted?
Okay, again, everybody, it looks like it's all the same people on, so we already went through the waste, but again, we're looking for elimination of waste doing value stream mapping. So why make a value stream map? I'll give you something. A company I worked at was in the automotive industry, and we had a number of OEMs that we worked with, and Ford was one of them. And they have a lean team, and the lean team will come in if you can't reduce the price of the product enough. So built into the contracts is 5% reduction every year of the price of the product. So they'll send the lean team in if you're not attaining that. So the lean team will come in and look at any way that you can get the costs out of the product. And they definitely do value stream mapping, and they want to eliminate all excess inventory out of the whole system. So any excess inventory in the system to make their product is wasted money that you're spending on inventory. So if you can cut your inventory down, you can reduce the price to the customer. So, and we use value stream mapping to look at that. So through value stream mapping, we're really trying to identify the waste, and it gives you a big picture on what's going on. And it aids in looking at sources of waste, and it ties together other concepts like lean concepts of not having excess inventory in the system. You can see it with the value stream map, with the process flow and spaghetti diagrams that we did before. You're not going to see things like that when you map it out. But it's easier to understand after we look at it. So a spaghetti diagram shows the movement of people and products, which we went over. The process flow diagram is really the flow of information and material through your system. And value stream mapping is similar to the process flow, but you really look at waste in more detail to eliminate waste. Process flow mapping, you're looking at eliminating processes that are wasteful processes in the system. But value stream mapping, you look at even more like material, the excess material in the system, and delays that are more, you're really focusing on delays that are in the system. So this is a sample of a value stream map, which we'll go over a little later, but so there's different symbols again, and like this is a symbol for the customer sending information in and how it goes through the system. And we're looking for waste that is in the system. So this is a customer sending orders in the system. It details how many orders per day they might put in, how many orders per week, and you get all the details on the orders coming in to the customer service department. They enter it daily into the computer system where all the orders are, and then the orders are transmitted once per hour to a person who estimates the time involved in to do the order. They typically do it 4 times during the day. The CAD person does work in the CAD 3 times a day. They have a person checking what was done by the previous 2 people, and engineering approves it. And then it goes for final approval. Then the product is released to the customer. Each one of these, time is put down on, as you can see, there's time involved. So the estimation time takes 30 minutes to get an order through. There's 3 days of delay in here between these 2 because there's a stack of orders waiting to be processed for the CAD person. The CAD person takes 480 minutes. There's another stack of orders between these 2 waiting to be processed, a queue of 3.5 days. They spend 180 minutes, half a day a queue here. And so as you can see how it goes through the system like that way. So the total lead time to get one of these customer orders through the system is 12 days. That's all these delays in between the people right here, 12 days. And it takes you 930 minutes of actual processing time. So when you look at that, you must be able to, I'm sure everybody agrees, there's potential for big improvements. So if you could eliminate a lot of these delay times, you could get the customer's product release much, much faster. So this is taking quite a bit of time here, over 12 days to get to this point, but only really 930 minutes of actual processing time. So all of these are waste, all this is like inventory waste here between the processes. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No question specific to kind of what this does, but gosh, that's a lot of information that's communicated.
Yeah, so this
Wow.
one.
So where do we go from here, Ted? I mean,
well, this system, I'm only showing basic information on here. Each one of these processes, there could be additional information like setup time. How long does it take to set the machine up? If it's some like a lathe or some processing machine, how long does it set the die up? And so there's other things involved here that can factor into this. This is just a very simple map of a system. So we're taking the process flow map adding processing time to it, some inventory time and other delays into it to make the value stream map. So this one, out of all the maps that we're going through in all these sessions, this one has the most complexity and the most information in it, but you can get the most waste out of this one.
Mm.
You know, this one has a lot of details in it. So again, you want to get all the details on the current process and the waste. So when you go and look at this, you got to capture the waste when you're out there looking at it. And you got to collect all the total time it takes for the process to be completed, including setup time, inspection times, anything involved in it. And then the goal is to make an improved value stream map that gets rid of a lot of the waste out of the system. It makes it faster with potentially less errors. So again, you don't do this from your desk. I've seen that happen before also with this mapping technique. You got to go out and collect the data. Don't rely on people saying, oh, it takes 20 minutes to do this and 5 hours of setup time. Go get the actual data yourself. I'm not saying don't believe people, but it's better to go out there and actually collect the data, spend some time observing the orders going through the system and getting the real life data. Because sometimes the people say it takes 3 hours to set up, but maybe in actuality, it's 4 hours or 4.5 hours. So actually get the actual data, not the standard data that's in your computer system. And you got to go observe and measure the process times and actually get what inventory or cube is between the processes. So you can go out there and look at what is the queue between the processes today. And, you know, you could go out there for a few days in a row and look at the queue between the stations to get the actual numbers. You know, what is the delay between the stations? So again, this is the current state again that we just went over, which shows, so this one again shows the 12 days and 90 to 30 minutes to do this process. So there's lots of non-value added delays in this. So, and what we're looking for is to try to get rid of waste. Typically, there's lots of waste in a system. Some people say that you know, a lot of times they'll go out and find, you know, 70% of the all the activity is waste, and there's only a small amount that's value. So we're trying to go in the current system and get rid of as much waste as we can to go into the future state. In the current state, there is waste, but there's some that is real, like waste you can just get out easily. And there's some that is a little harder waste to get out that is part of your system now that you really have to work on. Like, you know, like people double checking somebody else and it's part of your process, and they're finding errors all the time. So that's why you have to have them inspect. But you may have to have them keep inspecting a prior person's work for a while until you can get that out of the system. But some of those, it takes a while to get out. So the future state may not be the perfect state, but you may have some of this waste in here, but we call it type 1 waste that is needed in the system just because that's the way the system is now, and we're not able to eliminate it easily. So, but this may not be the long-term future state. That could be the future state you're working towards, and once you get to that, then you start working and getting rid of these type 1 wastes. But these are ones that are hard to get rid of. So again, the purpose of when you go through this, you look at the processes too. Say to yourself, what is the purpose of this process? What is it accomplishing? And can it be done differently? Can you take 2 processes and combine them into one? Do you actually need the process? I've seen a lot of inspection operations that can be eliminated often. If you have a person doing an operation and you assign them to inspect their work after they pass it on to the next person. Maybe you don't need a separate inspection operation between the two. And also look at when the activity should take place. Maybe you can have it take place at a different time period, or have it take place while another operation's processing to cut some of the time down in the entire operation, to get the order out. So this is like a future state on the prior one, where we have the customer service department enters the order into a system, and that system does the estimation. It already has the data in it, so it can estimate the time involved in doing the work and give an estimate to the customer. Then it goes to the CAD person, and we eliminated some more of the approval in here. So it goes to the CAD person, it only goes to one approval, not 2 or 3 approvals, and then the product's released. So in this one, we have 5 days of lead time and 780 days of processing time. So now we're getting the order out instead of 12 days plus the 960 minutes, I think it was, processing time. Now we're getting out in a little more than 5 days, the orders, by eliminating some of these processes that we're improving on them to eliminate, some of the inspection operations and the estimating. So you can see how it can make a dramatic improvement to the operation. So
I'm just
I
looking
know I
at,
went through this quickly. Any questions on that?
yeah, 12 to 5 is a huge improvement, Ted. I mean, obviously. So
Yeah.
we had one question from Leo that I'm going to address. It's kind of a general one. And then if anybody has some specific questions about value stream mapping, and for example, when it might be a great tool for your team to be able to learn and go through, and especially that idea of the current and the future. Like I said, I'm going to share some more links to case studies, and that current and future gave everybody what they were going towards together, right? And that's an important part of value stream mapping. So it's not just well, somebody's trying to change what I do or how I do it or how fast, but rather we are all as a team evolving and improving our process to get to this future state, ideal state, right? So Leo's question was about what the process is for Polaris MEP to help a Rhode Island manufacturer with something like this. And so what I'll do is I'll tell a story that, kind of illustrates it. So any MEP center, we all have the same mission, as I had said previously, which is to help grow and make more competitive the manufacturers in our state. So Polaris MEP works exclusively with Rhode Island manufacturers, but at any stage of their development. So we have some folks who are brand new, right? And they're trying to create the processes. A good example is a food manufacturer, where they might have had a secret recipe that they were doing in their restaurant, but now they want to turn it into something that they're going to be selling to retail locations. Well, their process needs to scale, their process needs to change. And so we'll come in and we'll help them look at that and improve it. And then as they grow, now suddenly they might get a great order from a larger distributor, right? So once again, we have to look at the processes and see where we can help them find efficiencies, training, quality, food safety, all of those kind of things. So as you can see, the services that we provide are a wide variety, but they're always to what is the customer's need at this point to help them get where they're going. And it is a consultative role. So what's great is that we'll send folks like Ted or Nathan or Chris, any of our project managers, or Kayla Viveras, who's our programs manager, out. And up to 4 hours of consultation are free. Ted will actually often walk through on a visit with a company. And as he said, right, this morning he was visiting with somebody and he could see, even as he was just going along, right, that there were already some opportunities to improve, right? And so I have witnessed it myself. We went and visited with a machine company one day, and I was with Chris Tanury, one of our other project managers, and he said, have you thought about bundling your pricing? Well, that was just in the free consultation, and within a couple of weeks, they were experimenting with bundled pricing and seeing some good feedback from that. So that first 4-hour consultation is about us getting to know you, your company, your state, your processes, like how you function and where you want to go, right? getting an understanding of where the challenges are. Ted, maybe you could speak to sometimes when we're called in because a customer thinks they have one challenge and actually it turns out to be something different, right? But that outside expertise that Ted and our other project managers bring is really important. And then usually from that early consultation, and again, it's up to 4 hours, we will put together a raft of recommendations. Some of those might be services that Ted and our other project managers would deliver directly. And there is an investment in that, that the manufacturer makes. The average project that's done with an MEP generates an ROI of 13-1, which means that if you're investing $1 in training with Ted, you can expect about $13 back in terms of increased revenue, cost savings, right? All of the wonderful things that you can be able to do as a result of that project, right? And then sometimes there might be some things where Ted says, hey, one of the delays that we're seeing here, where it's a 3-day delay on the current state map, is actually something that automation could have helped. And I'm not even talking about like automation or robot on your floor, but automation in your ordering system, or some things like that. And so he will then make a recommendation and connect you with a vetted resource that would be able to provide that solution for you. So that's kind of the way we work. It's always consultation. It's always customization to what our clients need. And so hopefully that answers it, and also talks a little bit about kind of the value stream mapping. So Ted, I hinted that sometimes like value stream mapping is also a way for you to help the client sometimes, right? See what's really happening, right? They might call us up and say, I need this. And Ted goes in and you say, actually, from what I'm observing, and when we mapped it out, this would be a better place to get kind of more bang for your buck, more productivity out of your people.
Yeah, usually there's a lot of times we will get called in and then, but one thing we do is try to find the best starting point to help the company. So, so sometimes it's just like it's called 5S, just getting everything organized and sorted out, everything in place before we continue. Yeah, sometimes we'll just spend a few hours at your location. But I want to also point out that when we do these, our goal is to train companies to do this themselves. We don't plan on coming in a lot of times to do. We can do that, but we try to give everybody the skills to do this after the initial project, to just continue doing it on their own and make improvements. And so a lot of this is training and how to go through collecting the data and how to make the maps and how to look at things for waste. So like for instance, that Aaron pointed out the computer, it could be an improved computer system. That is the main way I cut the customer order entry delay I was having from 48 hours to 24, was because the way the computer system was set up, the production and shipping operation wouldn't see a customer order for 24 hours. So I changed the computer system processing because it was doing overnight processing of customer orders. Instead of doing that, I had to process like every 2 hours during the day. So as the customer orders came in, the production operation would see the orders within 2 hours of the order coming in. And that cut out like 24 hours almost instantly out of the process, that simple change. That was a dramatic change. So some of these changes are very simple things, but until you really go through like the process flow map or the value stream map, it's really hard to see it. And I always like to get somebody involved as much as possible from each one of the groups. I had a person in the customer service group involved in this, looking at to go from 48 hours to 24, because they knew some of the delays and how they knew. A lot of people, the people doing the work have a lot of information, and we want to get the information from them to help improve the process. So that's one thing I really like to do. And I like to try to get them involved in this also. So it's good to have them understand the value stream map or process flow map, what we're doing. when we're going through this, even though they may not be on the final improvement team, but they should know about it. So we would go in and train a bunch of people on this before we start, so everybody has a basic understanding of what we're doing to make these improvements.
That's great. Thank you, Ted. I'm reminded, since Brandon Castaneda from National Marker, AccuFarm National Marker is on it, that one of his leaders would always say, if you're not improving, if you're not changing, you're dying, right? And a lot of what this is about creating that culture of improvement and that commitment to the continuous improvement. So I don't know, Brandon, hopefully you know that you've been completely brainwashing me with that phrase. So I use that all the time. So Ted, we don't have any other questions specific to value stream maps. So why don't we do one final little bit of housekeeping, if you would. Can you advance the slides? One more, there we go. Our next webinar series, our next info session in this series, which is the very last one of this 4-step approach, is on setup reduction. And this came specifically because we had so many manufacturers asking us, how can we improve changeovers? How can we focus on kind of that single-minute exchange of die? And so Ted will be talking to that on December 15th. If you haven't signed up already, please do so at this note. And one more, Ted, if you would. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to contact Ted if you have any questions specific to value stream mapping or any of the tools we've presented so far in this series. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, everyone who participated today. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully in this last info session on December 15th. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for attending. And the next one can have a big impact on a lot of companies from that I've seen in Rhode Island. So I think the next one's a really good one. So if you could please attend.
These were all good, Ted, but thank you very much.
I think the next one's really good.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.